Great. Thank you everyone for joining this session on Assam Downtown University's digital transformation journey. And theme of the topic today is Campus on the Cloud. My name is Durga Prasad. I'm from Amazon, and I'm the host for today's fireside chat. So this is only a listen-only webinar. The Q&A session will be in the last 15 minutes of the session. If you have any questions, please submit them by clicking on the questions icon on your right of the window. And we'll be taking these questions after the fireside chat completes, which is about 45th minute, 3:45 Indian time. This webinar is hosted in collaboration with Amazon Web Services, a cloud service provider in India and across the globe. We work with education customers in India, such as institutions, education technology startups, research organizations, schools, and their respective partners as well. So some of you might have heard of AWS already, but we'll talk more on this as we go to the next one. So there are more than about 11,000 educational customers across the globe using AWS today. In India, Indian Institute of Management Bangalore or IIITB or Indian Institute of Science, Manipal, GTU are some of the customers in India. But today, we are excited to talk about the Assam Downtown University journey to cloud. And we have 4 guests today. Dr. Amarjyoti Chowdhury, Vice Chancellor, Assam Downtown University. Dr. Mala Datta, Associate Professor, Computer Science and Engineering Department. Professor Biplab Kumar De, Dean, Faculty of Pharmaceutical Sciences, and Mr. Sunil PP, Head of AWS Education in India. So before we get started, I would like to request Dr. Chowdhury, the Vice Chancellor of ADTU, to say a few words to kickstart this webinar. Dr. Chowdhury.
Thank you so much. As we all know, appreciate, we, the Assam Downtown University, are entering into an era of cooperation with AWS, and we contemplate a shared future where the university will have undergoes changes or undergoes transformation, a holistic transformation towards digitalization. And for that, we welcome you all to this webinar. And we know that we are in an extraordinary situation. Suddenly, we had to change from the classroom situation to digital platforms for our classes so that it would reach our students who are far away at the moment. And digital transformation for a quality teaching, learning, research, and outreach program has been well integrated into our system, in our vision and mission of the university. And the pandemic has brought it, highlighted it, and made us respond to it in an urgent manner. Today, as we celebrate the collaboration with AWS, we look back in brief to our initiative in e-learning, which has recently been certified as a Center of Excellence in e-learning by QS iGauge, the Indian wing of the professional ranking agency QS. And we started off a digitization initiative by developing our own enterprise resource planning ERP, which we term as PRAN, or the soul of our digitization program. It encompasses vital portals and through which activities of the university are recorded and monitored. For example, the admission portal carries all admission related policies, facts, and individual cases. The student portal covers the entire life cycle of the student. Similarly, the examination portal implements the AI-guided selection of questions from question banks and to declaration of result, everything. And we also have similarly other portals like administrative portal, academic portal, alumni, and research portal. We also have adapted to digital platforms like our own YouTube channels and digital platforms like Zoom, and have secured access to Zoom. We also realize that digitization is a vast process and needs support and collaboration, especially in these extraordinary times when we suddenly have to reach out to such a large number of students, and that to do in a very secure way so that we can secure our data, our uploads, and retrieve them at ease. That's why we need partners, and that is why the help of AWS has come very handy. Thus, we have we also have collaboration with Coursera, and today we celebrate the partnership with AWS. It is through this collaboration that we aim to scale new heights in ensuring virtual laboratories, providing our students with the opportunity for undertaking professional courses, and the opportunity for our teachers to use cloud technology, for which they are the main providers, and for uploading video, audio of the classes, class notes, reference and links to similar outside sources. It has thus brought about a new and competent ways for augmenting our teaching, learning, research, and hence we enormously thank AWS for coming to this very strategic partnership that we have taken this giant leap in our academics, and we hope in future this will build to a new height where there will not be simply, it will not only the tools will be provided, not only just science and technology tools will be provided, but then there will be absolute cooperation and collaboration so that new ideas are developed, new techniques are developed for better teaching, learning, and better research, than finding solution to problems in future that society needs, our country needs, and the world at large needs. Thank you. I would like to end here the beginning remarks.
Thank you so much, Dr. Chaudhary. Very well said. I think it is important to not just think about the four walls and the campuses, but about the society and about the country and the world at large, and how the contribution makes in those lands. Thank you for having that vision, and it's important to have have the vision in this kind of current situations. Now, the question to Dr. Maladatta, you've been instrumental in this digital transformation of university. Can you please talk about ADTU more?
Thank you, Mr. Durga. Good afternoon to all. I actually have a very brief presentation that I'd like to make, if it's okay. Kindly give me a second to pull up my slides. There you go. I hope my slides are visible. Hello? I hope my slides are visible. Okay, yeah, thank you. Great, thank you. The digital vision of ADTU is basically to empower individuals across the university to try new ways of working with digital technologies. The vision is also to allow students to learn using methods that suit their personal preferences at a pace that they can choose. On the hardware front, the entire campus of the university is connected via point-to-point networks, and it's supported by state-of-the-art infrastructure. We have digital surveillance systems across the entire campus. There are digitized communication channels that facilitate seamless communication between all the stakeholders of the university. Moreover, all departments have incorporated open source software and they are actively using it as well. Now, the university has been using an ERP system since way back in 2011 for all its administrative tasks. Thereafter, since 2016, ADTU has successfully developed and is using its very own full-fledged learning management system called PRAN. PRAN provides many features. One of them is that it provides faculty course assignment, student registration, The class attendance and performance of students can also be monitored. PRAN provides a digital learning content repository as well. Faculty can upload course content like documents, videos, etc. And this content, after verification by an expert panel, is made accessible to all the students anytime, anywhere. Similarly, PRAN also provides a digitized question repository for different examinations. It serves as a digital notice board. It also gives students a digital platform for grievance redressal. Now, to address new and changing requirements, new features are regularly added to PRAN. Now, when almost overnight the city went into a lockdown due to the pandemic, our university rose to the challenge. Live streaming of lectures and tutorial classes started almost immediately. Pre-recorded lectures were also made available to all the students through PRAN as well as on other platforms. Students and faculty were given free, unlimited access to Coursera learning materials and certifications, and several highly successful virtual international webinars and faculty development programs were conducted. Coming to other tangible digital deliverables, well, to name a few, ADTU has launched its very own learning channel on YouTube called ADTU Digital Learning Platform. It currently has over 350 videos, with more being added on a regular basis. Another digital deliverable during the pandemic has been our very own end semester examination conduction system, developed by our in-house team of dedicated developers. Now, for all our digital initiatives and digital deliverables, especially during the lockdown, Assam Downtown University has been awarded a Certificate of Excellence for its academic digitization by QSERA India Private Limited. ADTU is always driven by one driving principle: what next? ADTU understands that cloud-based IT is the next big thing in this digital boom. And we are aware that leveraging cloud technologies to drive innovation in teaching, learning, and research will become a key differentiator in the delivery of higher education. Therefore, ADTU's next crucial step in its digital journey is to transform its campus to a campus on the cloud in partnership with Amazon Web Services. Thank you. Back to you, Mr. Durga.
Thank you so much, Dr. Datta. I think that's very well articulated, and I really, at the first time hearing about PRAN and how it's kind of spanned across the entire campus management to learning outcomes as well as the student engagement. It's amazing how it actually came out as a very well needed and adaptable in the current situation. Okay, so let me go to my next guest. Mr. Sunil, you are from Amazon, and there are many people here do not know much about AWS in education. Can you talk a little more in the current context?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. So thank you, Dr. Mala. Thank you, Dr. Chowdhury. And hi, Durga. Hi, everybody. Maybe take maybe a minute or so just to share with you what we are seeing in the market right now globally. There's been a significant change across the globe with regard to IT and technology. Both the learning and teaching process changed completely. And the new normal now is to have virtual classrooms, live classrooms happening, and that's all happening on the cloud. I don't know how many of you all have heard of Amazon Web Services, but essentially you all use AWS in some form or the other. From simple things like if you book an Uber, it runs on AWS. Okay, you're watching Netflix, runs on AWS. So it's part of our fabric of our life, and we are actually seeing a lot more of that consumption happening now because of lockdown. On the same way, we're seeing a lot of exciting changes happening across campuses, whether it's higher education, K-12, whether it's skilling. We're seeing a lot of adoption happening on new technologies like remote examinations, virtual proctored examinations, looking at content creation and content storage, which was not something that was done professionally. We have a lot of stuff happening around social distancing, using technology, etc. So we're seeing a lot of changes happening, and the entire ecosystem of education globally is adapting to this change in an accelerated manner. So we are seeing institutions moving to having an actual learning management system being used, because people normally used to have it, and that's where fundamentally it used to be. And now we're seeing that usage going up significantly because you have a lot of content being created and you want to monitor progress of learning. Therefore, an LMS is the essential component. We're seeing that going up in a big way. So all in all, there is an increased amount of technology adoption, and ADTU has taken a step actually before the lockdown of taking the journey onto the cloud along with AWS. And we thank them for this, for joining us on this journey, which is primarily look at enabling and helping children acquire skills for Industry 4.0. Whether as and when the markets open up, we're going to see a lot of new skills in demand. And the AWS cloud skills is something that has been number one for many, many years as most wanted skill globally. And we're looking at helping ensuring that students across campuses have access to content that can help build these skills. So we're happy with this partnership, looking forward to moving ahead with this. Thank you. Back to you, Durga.
Thank you, Mr. Sunil. Appreciate that. Yeah, I think talking about scaling, I think that 20 years back, the kind of jobs that what we have versus the kind of jobs that we have today are so different, right? And what we're going to be having 5 years or 10 years down the line, it kind of defines as to how the world is changing according to. So I think it is important to be able to look at the new ways of doing things and how the new student and employee or the entrepreneur is going to do things in the way to meet those citizens' requirement is very critical, and that requires a changing technology and skilling landscape. All right, and you also talked about the unprecedented time, and interestingly, Dr. Chaudhary was actually talking about how the university is actually been changing, because of these. So very interesting how it's already digital transformative journey of ADTU before this, because of the vision that they have, how it kind of helped in even in the tough times. Very interesting, right? But if you look at it, not everyone is going to be like ADTU. There are like 1.5 billion students are out of campuses globally. While there was one gentleman who actually mentioned that the campuses might have shut down, but the universities are not, right? So in that context, Professor Day, can you talk about your viewpoint on the impact of disruption on the university campuses as a whole in general? And also, while Dr. Mala talked about how ADTU has already been equipped, if you want anything more on top of it.
Thank you so much, Mr. Durga. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
All right. Of course, we cannot deny the fact that the considerable chaos which has happened due to this COVID-19 pandemic, which is again still going on. This is a fact. We cannot avoid this fact. Now, education sectors in India particularly, they are really trying their best to maintain a decent flow of teaching learning process by adopting online modes. But we all know that it's not that easy, because except few, many of them are struggling, because effective transformation from offline to online mode all of a sudden is not that easy. And at Assam Downtown University, we could do that effectively, because in the beginning only, by sensing the importance and the urgency, we at Assam Downtown University immediately started broadening our horizon by adapting and using multiple online platforms and forums. And our biggest advantage was we were not new to these online ventures, because by then we have successfully implemented and practiced our URP and learning management system PRAN for a couple of years. So faculty members and the students were well versed by then with the online exchange process of academic and administrative contents, like be it a classroom, class notes, be it class videos, student attendance, circulars and notices, and so on and so forth. We were also spontaneous in adapting online mode of examination process for last couple of years, wherein formation of question bank, moderation of question papers, and generation of question papers for end semester examinations are done completely online. So, of course, the recent pandemic could interrupt the continuity of education all over the place to a great extent, but not in Assam Downtown University. It took actually no time for us to accept and respond to the transformation effectively. So that's what we have done in Assam Downtown University.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Dave. Appreciate that. And I want to talk to Dr. Datta. Dr. Datta, can you, in this context, you also talked about PRAN and how it's kind of helping out. Can you talk specifically in the last 3 months, how did the digital transformation journey that you already took long back, and how that kind of helped there? And I believe you have about 8,000 students. So how is this scale happened? Like, you probably would have thought about a certain number last year, but when it really come down to entire students are going to be coming and accessing this from registration to admissions to learning management system, how did you do it? Any lessons learned from there?
Yes, actually, I believe that the main aspect of digital transformation is the impact on the teaching, learning, and on the various administrative procedures of the university. So, like I just mentioned in my presentation, we had already anticipated this situation, and we understood the importance of digitization long back. And as far as teaching learning is concerned, live streaming of lecture sessions through various platforms was one major step through which we could address this digitization process. Another noteworthy step, I believe, in this direction was the availability of learning content, such as class notes, pre-recorded lectures, etc., for the students. We had a system in our LMS PRAN where students just need to log in, and they are immediately able to access the learning content put up for them from anywhere and anytime. Next, in this process, in this context, I must also point out that one very useful aspect of this whole digitization process was that we developed the capacity to digitize the entire examination process by virtue of the digitized question repository that we have in PRAN. Now, speaking also in the context of campus administrative procedures, the university has begun putting digital at the heart of everything. Like, open source software is being used efficiently across the organization. Many administrative procedures, such as student admissions, like you just asked, student registration, etc., these are all being done online. So user interfaces have been built. These interfaces are very friendly, and they can be accessed by students and their guardians from the comfort and the security of their homes. To this end, the university's LMS PRAN provides all the stakeholders with a channel for seamless communication as well. Now, for new admissions and prospective students, the professional website of the university is a one-stop for complete and comprehensive information pertaining to the university. Prospective students can apply through the website itself. The website is equipped with all the necessary validation checks to handle any errors or any inconsistencies that may arise during the data entry while during the online examination process, the online admission process. And this makes this admission process very easy and very seamless. At ADTU, like we are constantly brainstorming. It's like, what's next, how to improve. This has always been the driving principle here. And maybe in this spirit, we can say that our university is always committed to provide even better digital-based features to all the stakeholders during this journey of digital transformation of the campus. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Datta. And if you look at it, I think even the lot of other universities, they are kind of trying to come up with a way that to meet the needs of the existing one, because some of them have their own LMS systems which are maybe used for interim, maybe by one class at a time, kind of one. But suddenly when it kind of switched, the scale at which that you have to give this and the large infrastructure requirement they have to be able to support these thousands of students at the same time, they did have some problems on those. So we had our interesting lessons on it in the past. So that is where the cloud actually makes a lot of difference in terms of speed, scale, and security. These are very, very important for a lot of universities when they actually look at this digital campus on the cloud kind of model. So let me ask Mr. Sunil. Sunil, can you talk about your experience being interacting with other institutions? You've been working with education for quite some time now. So what is the pattern like? And while talking about Dr. Datta and how we hear about it, how do you see that other universities are doing it, just to get a the context in terms of the campus on the cloud, and what is the need and challenges?
Hey, yeah, so just want to maybe share with you two examples of what we've seen as big trends across the industry. One is that education solution providers, or edtechs, they've been seeing a significant amount of adoption and usage across institutions and students directly. Take any of them, either Byju's or Simplilearn. There are plenty of them in the market. India has the second largest population of education technology companies in the world, and AWS basically supports 94% of them currently. So almost everybody that's doing anything on technology and education is running on AWS. Okay, and we're seeing that ecosystem growing significantly, and that's driving a lot of adoption. So whether it's the online degree approvals that the government of India has given, which in turn has basically opened up a race of sorts of institutions actually offering an online degree, and that's seeing a huge intent, and we have many institutions that are on that path to launch an online degree. In fact, just take you back about 4 months back when the lockdown came into place, I think March 7th, we basically were brainstorming about what we could do to help institutions to stay open and stay functioning. And we partnered with a local solution provider in Bangalore to launch something called a live classroom for institutions to adopt. And over a period of 8 weeks, almost 1 million students had access to live classrooms, and over 47,000 teachers were trained to use live classroom as a medium. Okay, that's about scale, and this has scaled overnight. In the first 3 days, the customer went from having 100 customers to about 400 customers, all with no effort from his side. Okay, so that's on the technology part of it. What we're also seeing is that institutions are adopting virtual classrooms at a much faster pace, which was not happening earlier. So you have a whole bunch of them using virtual classrooms at the higher education or K-12. We're also seeing a lot of higher education institutions trying to give students immersive lab experience by providing them cloud labs. So there are institutions that are actually providing lab time for students to actually practically experience technology, whether it's AI, ML, blockchain, or big data. Any of the future technologies can still be accessed by students without coming into their campuses. So we're seeing that having a huge impact, because now they're able to actually switch on the lab, use it for a couple of hours, switch it off, rather than invest in heavy infrastructure on the campus. That's seeing a huge trend as we look ahead here. Thank you, Durga.
Right, thank you so much. Yes, I remember the conversation about how we want to do it. I think yeah. Speaking about it, I think you talked about the 48,000 teachers who are actually or faculty were actually online, and most of them were actually fresh, first time standing in front of the camera instead of 30 odd people in a four-wall classroom. So that's another big challenge. So sometimes while the technology can add and quickly give you a solution, but in terms of delivering it, and the teachers and faculty would have to now understand the new nuances of how to deliver it effectively in this new way of doing it. So in fact, I think that kind of gets into a slightly new topic about pedagogy. The need of in-person teaching versus remote learning and assessment. So let me ask Dr. Chowdhury, how do you see the future learning and academic education going to be? And what will be the role of technology or the cloud computing here?
Well, as we have already seen, uh, the online teaching method has come to stay, and it has shown its powers. And earlier days, we know that classroom education was the main thing. We concentrated more on classroom education, where teacher is the main person through which the teaching is being done. And we also knew that teachers, they used to bring the outside world into the classroom, mainly through their ideas, mainly through their words, their writings on the board, and through their gestures. Later on, they used to bring it through PowerPoint presentation, but gradually more and more videos and audios used to be brought in. And so gradually, the outside world was brought in with the help of technology. I still remember one case when when we were studying one of our teacher brought a small gramophone, and he played, and he was teaching us Budapest geography. He was talking about Budapest, and then he said that Budapest, the Buda and Pest are two cities, and through that Danube flows, and Danube is blue, and there was a piece of music written by Johann Strauss, which he played in the gramophone, and he said that you should. I'm telling you, I'm asking you to listen to this because you will be global citizens, not citizens like us who were only confined to the country. I can see his vision, how from independent dependent, where we were dependent or under the British rule, and then we were getting the independence, and this class happened. So this showed how he could vision the future, anticipate the future. So we should anticipate the future, and if we anticipate the future, we see that classroom education will stay, teachers are going to stay, they are the mainstay, but then together with this will be integrated more and more with very powerfully with these online facilities or the digital facilities, which will further strengthen our education system, teaching, learning, and as well as research and future communications with the students and the entire university community, which you need. And also, this will help collaboration between universities and other professional bodies. For example, we have seen how you have helped us with your virtual laboratories, how we can avail of your virtual laboratories, and with that help, our students have been able to learn more, and they have also been able to learn these ideas of various professional courses, and all these things have come together, so more competence has been generated. So I guess this is the future that we are seeing, where science and technology is going to play a very important role, but when it does, to be more meaningful, it has to be totally integrated to our education system, not just a hodgepodge addition to here and there. That is my feeling.
Great, very well said. I think it's going to be a blended model, and integrated that is going to be important there. In fact, I think the student engagement is very critical in these kind of one. I think that's one thing is where the innovation happens in terms of how do we engage more effectively when the when there is a distance between a faculty and a student, and how it's going to happen. I think we're going to be seeing those new innovations there. In fact, there's actually a question from one, and I want to ask this question to Sunil. So before I ask the question, for everyone who joined right after my welcome note, thank you for joining this and listening for next 25 minutes. Please post your question and answers. We would like to be as interactive as possible. This is a listen-only webinar, but we will take your questions and answer them if you have any on that. Okay. I'll take the questions at the end, but this one question is a nice segue, which I wanted to pick it up. Mr. Sunil, there was a question about will the pandemic make the presence of augmented reality and artificial intelligence in education sector? If yes, what can we expect?
Absolutely. Actually, the pandemic has accelerated both these solutions and technology usage across the globe. Actually, if you look at AR or AI being used outside of India, many institutions already had enough applications happening on both these technologies. We're seeing that getting accelerated big time. See, the big benefit of having augmented reality primarily would be to look at scenarios where students can understand better understanding of abstract spatial geometry concepts, etc., through using AR as a medium. That's something that really can help. It also helps students work on chemicals which are environmentally friendly environment to work in, rather than get into life-threatening environments to learn things. So AR basically is a great tool to have a virtual environment for you to experiment and work on. So that's picking up in a big way. Okay, and from an AI perspective, it already was a very hot usage solution across universities in the US and Europe. We've seen some applications of it, which is very, very relevant for India. For example, admission management using AI to basically ensure that you're able to filter and manage the process in an automated model, and allowing the system to analyze applications and basically categorize them, making the process simpler, is something that we've seen very, very effective in many of the mature universities abroad. So as we progress and get through the scenario that we are in right now, we're going to see all these technologies, AR, VR, AI, and machine learning, take off in a big way, and that's going to create a whole set of new skill requirements in the market, which I think everyone who is studying should be looking at adapting and acquiring skills on how to use these technologies in real life scenarios, because there's plenty more coming from where it's come so far. Durga, you.
Yeah, thank you, Sunil. With that, let me also hear that from Professor Dey. Would you want to add anything on this particular question, or in general about the pedagogy and the need for in-person versus digital? Your comments, please.
Actually, the point has been correctly elaborated by our Honorable VC Sir, and Mr. Sunil has also pointed very pertinent point of creating new job opportunities, skill-based job opportunities. Well, we cannot deny this fact again, that the future of teaching, learning, and assessment is likely to be more technology driven, and the online or virtual means of knowledge dissemination is going to be the most integral part of education and research in future. That is for sure. And although our students should not be deprived of being benefited from the goodness of classroom approach, but at the same time, they must have exposure to modern tools and technologies. And accessing virtual resources like AI and cloud technology and all these online medias and resources is one of the most exciting things that will equip them to face and mingle with the present and future world. That is for sure. So a blended approach is the future, wherein, as correctly said by our Honorable VC Sir, that it should be integrated in such a way that with the normal classroom teaching, it should be integrated in such a way that the maximum benefit is obtained for the student. So that's it.
Yeah, thank you so much. And just want to add, because I work with Sunil very closely, so let me add a couple of more on these. I think AR and VR are going to be play a significant role in the learning outcomes. Something that it's, while very well explained on the blackboard and the reading and drawing it, how can we actually simulate that and be able to tell them with a mixed reality? Because voice is one of the things which is going to be going to go in a big way. So if you can combine the voice and then the virtual reality into a real world, I think that gives you completely immersive experience of how you can learn something in much faster way, because the learning how it has been in the past versus now is different, and with the new ways of doing things, and it's important for us to be able to give the same concept in multiple formats for student to consume. Now, on the other hand, if you take an example of how weather forecasting is using, machine learning, or how the space organization is using, technology to be able to bring these research and figure out how do we best accommodate these. So, how the research as a whole, how it is accelerating the science. Earlier, it used to take about years of time to be able to make something come out with the current capacity, but with the new way that how machine learning is helping out, they're able to make very interesting things, like just by taking a picture of a small infant in a rural area in India. Can I make something to figure out the mass weightage of it and things like it? It's a different use case altogether. So there are new innovations are coming up, and those will eventually come into the education as well in those. Okay, now let me slightly change the topic to something more important one. Again, I think we are just running a little late on our schedule. We'll probably open up for questions in the next 6 minutes or so. So this is really about the Industry 4.0. I think the initial question that you asked about artificial intelligence, I think the cloud computing, AI and ML, cybersecurity, IoT, all these are really, really important in the long run, and the demand for the Industry 4.0. So, however, there is actually a skill gap, and there are high-paying jobs, and it takes several months and sometimes a year to hire a person. I myself is a hiring manager. It takes very long time for me to hire a person who is actually suitable for that role. So, Dr. Chowdhury, as a forward-looking university, what is your recommendation in filling this gap? And do you actually agree with there is actually a gap here?
There will be always a gap. I mean, theoretically, there'll be always a gap, because nothing fits perfectly. But then we have to adapt to it so that gap is minimized. That is the idea. But with that, if we go for a reduction of that gap, we realize that universities are the places where the fundamental ideas and to some extent skills are provided. But then there are more skills are necessary so that they can be of use to the society or to the industry. And that is why very often it is now it is a practice in the good universities and forward-looking universities that there are special classes, special arrangements are made where the student is made future ready for the future. So this future readiness and anticipating the future, what are the skills that will be necessary, and providing them with the skills, this has been the continuous effort of the good universities, best universities, I would say. So if that is the case, so filling the gap has been continuously going in the universities. Now, with the help of science and technology and other arrangements, like, for example, professional courses which can be obtained from AWS, similarly professional courses from even MOOCs courses that are coming. Some of them are very professional, and combining all these, students are learning more and more. And we could see that during the pandemic, there has been a rush by our engineering students and also other students for learning specific skills to the details. So I guess that already society is geared towards that. It anticipates that this kind of skills will be necessary. And so for attaining this skill, there has been attempts by the students, teachers, university community, as well as the society at large. We have seen that there has been also interaction nowadays between industry and university. For example, in our own university, people from industry often come and they interact with our students. They conduct even
Yes.
vivas and prepares students for the future. So by a combination of these, I'm sure that we can make students future ready.
Great. Yeah, I think that collaboration is indeed required, and then glad that it is happening, across the country. So thank you for your inputs, Dr. Chaudhary.
Thank you.
So the next question to Professor Dey: what does campus on cloud really mean to you, and how is it going to help ADTU in this context?
Oh, that is going to help a lot in many ways. See, if I'm allowed to, because I have to give a little info in going into that. For example, since the inception actually of the Assam Downtown University in 2010, we are putting our time, energy, and all the possible resources to bring in the best possible facilities and techno tools for our students, and all this we have done to imbibe the confidence within them that they are at par with that of the global standards. Now, when we have started our journey with AWS hand to hand, we would be able to deliver our students now even better. That confidence we are gaining. And as we know that AWS Educate and AWS Academy would offer immense opportunities for our students to explore this artificial intelligence and cloud computing technology. These are need of the hour. That will imbibe skill within them. Now, students have the privilege to take the advantage of virtual laboratories, since students need not to wait for their next visit to the laboratory. This virtual lab will result in huge possibilities of continuous brainstorming and idea generation. Now, very soon, we will come up with the virtual reality labs, which again would play a vital role in triggering the young minds. And this is applicable to all the students, no matter which stream the students is pursuing in. Irrespective of the stream, the students should learn to use the online portals through open learning approach and gain the basic and advanced IT skill, which would actually make them stand tall. And improve contact period of the students and their learning content is actually the most desirable outcome of this campus cloud, if I'm not wrong, because that is our intention, that how best access the student can get out of this. Now, see, we have already traveled many more miles, and we will travel many more miles ahead. And since ADTU has started mingling with AWS, I'm sure that with the facilities and the features the AWS has, definitely the better service and the better facilities and better competency can be imbibed among the students as well as the faculty members in down the line. And ADTU is always driven by one driving principle, that is what is next. So this is we believe, and that is how we go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Very well said. So just before we going into a Q&A, I want to ask Sunil, you heard about Dr. Chaudhary talking about scaling, and Professor Dey talking about campus on cloud, what does it really mean to him and in general to the university. Would you have anything that you want to talk about from AWS point of view, how been helping university here?
Yeah, so the points mentioned by Sir Dr. Dey was actually spot on, because the fact that you have access to the content of AWS Educate Academy, AWS Educate is completely free, so students can actually on campus go and learn from basic Clouder 1 all the way up to machine learning and AI, absolutely free of cost. In fact, they can go in and start working on creating skill sets for Alexa. I don't know how many of you use Alexa, but Alexa is now one of the largest used voice services in the country and the world. And that's something that you have access to. So AWS primarily brings to you the complete repository of learning content that if you're interested in learning, you have access to it, because ADTU has taken the call to partner with AWS. Okay, and that's something that you have today. And the entire process of trying to ensure that we're able to drive adoption, understanding, and readiness of faculty on new technology, which is a continuous process as part of the AWS campus program, will also help ensure that the faculty is also up to date with new technologies and new changes coming our way, which collectively will position ADTU as to be one of the best campuses in the country and primarily make sure that it's technologically ahead as and when required from a global perspective. Off to you, Guga.
Right, perfect. Thank you. I think that kind of summarizes our fireside chat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just take the questions. So if anybody else has questions, there are quite a few questions now. I'm going to pick and choose, not all, but a few things which I can pick up. So the first question to maybe to Dr. Maladat. I would like to know what are the steps taken for those if someone misuse digitization in university. As we are aware, many are there who violates rules on web.
Yes, we do have a very airtight, or maybe say watertight policy. I mean, there is a committee which handles any such problems that may arise. Because yes, it does happen. It does happen where people try to take advantage and they try, unfair means sometimes. So there is a scrutiny that goes on. Like, for example, let me just give you a very small example. Suppose in the case of online examination, right? So suppose we are conducting online examination and a student, instead of appearing himself or herself, somebody else tries to come and, take the place of that student. Now, we do have monitoring, right? We have face recognition software inbuilt into our portal, by which this can be stopped. So this is one example. So for every digitization procedure that the university has brought about, there are steps, there are checks and balances that we also provide to make sure that this does not happen. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I think you give a very good example about the examinations and remote examinations, and the remote proctoring or virtual proctoring is the need of the hour today. Nobody anticipated that examinations are going to be taken from the homes, and we have to find a solution. So I think you having this such a virtual proctoring, as part of your solution, that's actually very forward looking in my view.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you. Thank you.
So and it looks like the next question is also for you, Dr. Maladat. When will we get AWS Access? This must be from a student, I guess.
I'm sure everybody must be very eager, and very, very soon, like as soon as the modalities are, being worked out right now. So I guess once they come back to the campus, everything will be ready for them and ready, steady, set, and ready to go. So everything's been worked out. So very little time
Okay,
we will be going live.
Okay, great. The next question I want to ask, Professor Dey, because the same question is being asked to Dr. Chaudhary as well in the past. What is more beneficial, virtual or real classroom? If you want to add your inputs.
Actually we have to see this aspect from a different point of view. Both are beneficial. We should not quantify the virtual classroom as well as our physical classrooms. As in many forums on various stages, it has been elaborately discussed that the future is the blended approach towards the teaching learning system. Now we cannot completely eradicate the physical classroom teaching, because there are certain salient features which are there, which will be there, which cannot be compensated with any other thing. Now at the same time, we should take the advantage of the online or virtual resources, and these virtual resources will be utilized as an add-on. I mean, it should add value to our teaching learning system, and that way our teaching learning system would be modernized, our teaching learning system would be would be up to date and will be industry friendly. I mean, a student who should be carrying his or her certificate on one hand, and she should also be very much pertaining to the recent trends and the advancement she or he also should be very much aware of. So that is what is happening everywhere when we have transformed into the online mode of teaching learning. And this and believe me, this is not for this pandemic situation. This is going to last in future as well. Earlier we used to depend on only the physical mode of classroom teaching, which actually limited ourselves into continuous maintaining a continuity into the teaching learning process, which actually is fully supported by these online modes and the virtual resources, that we do not stop anywhere and we can continue with the teaching learning process. And even though this pandemic will get over in some time, definitely we'll be going back to the classroom teaching, physical classroom teaching, but at that time definitely we'll be in a better position to use these online platforms to sharpen our classroom teachings. So this is the advantage, add-on advantage and value-added things what we are planning to and what we are going ahead. Thank you.
Right. Thanks so much. So before I ask the next question, just a heads up, we may be a couple of minutes or 3-4 minutes delay after past 4. So please bear with us because there are some interesting questions. The next question is a very interesting question. This is one I want to hear some thoughts from Dr. Chowdhury. It's about the digital transformation is great and it works very well for the students from the urban and cities who are able to connect and access to. And Dr. Chowdhury, you're talking about it earlier before the session starts. How do you actually look at these rural and where the connectivity problems are there, the affordability problems are there? How do we handle that?
So far as the affordability problem is there, I guess the universities and the schools and colleges, they will have to adapt to it. Adapt to it means sometimes they will have to create facilities whereby those with economically weaker students can be provided with digital devices, necessary devices. That should be the future. So some sort of more banks for the digital devices should be created in schools, colleges, so that it can be circulated amongst the students. That is one point. And as for the other one, connectivity, I think, yes, we all agree that there are remote areas where connectivity is not up to the mark. So we would request our government, because this is the urgent need of the hour, because many such situations may come in future. So to increase the connectivity of the remote areas is the vital need of the hour. This is not only for education, for development, also for all other forms of development. Because if we want to create data and create immediate response to a certain situation, communication is a must, connectivity is a must. So that is why it is very necessary that our government takes up it on a priority basis, that even the remote areas of our country are connected well. So that these are the needs of the hour, and we should attend to it with a kind of passion and zeal.
Yeah, I totally agree. And yes, I think it's a much bigger problem, and even the connectivity prices have to be reduced. Overall, I think it'll happen. More consumption happens, I think the better the price is going to be, and eventually, because it was not planned and there was no book for it, that is going to come. So yeah. I think everyone is learning on their own, and government is thinking different angles. So hopefully, something is going to be addressed on those areas. But until then, there will be a blended learning model where it's not going to be that everybody's going to be remote and everybody's going to join from their own devices. And it's going to be kind of a blended model is going to continue to happen across India, in a lot of other places as well. Okay, there is one question which I want to ask Mr. Sunil, and then I'll also take the opinion from Dr. Day. This is about, digitization or online concept is very new. The professors and students who are not experts in digital online concepts, how could they bridge the gap, and could there be some special course or classes to bridge the gap?
Yeah, actually, something that Dr. Chowdhury opened up in the beginning actually resonates very well with this question, which is primarily that the need is to create an integrated learning experience, and in that, content is an integral part of it. And if you don't have a structured content model or content repository being created, then what happens? The digital learning effect is not very effective, and that's where the problem really would come in. So there are plenty of tools available online, plenty of learning material available even through Coursera on how to create online content and how to make it effective learning content. Because having students in a classroom drives a lot more interaction. Doing that virtually is an extremely difficult task. It's not easy at all. And students from an education perspective require that interaction and social connect as an add-on to actually help learning process. And just content delivery alone is not sufficient. Therefore, live learning environments is a critical component that institutions should adapt to and have it available for students to use, and not just content broadcast, which is kind of easier but not really that effective. So that's primarily where it will go. So from a readiness perspective, there is a ton of content available online on how to create active, interactive content in an effective manner, which can be used on any platform that you're using right now without any changes. And there's plenty of available content. And we also have a training module coming in through Educate that you can use for teachers to use online tools more effectively. Go ahead, Durga.
Right. So I think there's one public article that Impartus kind of produced as to, if you're first-time faculty, how do you actually start with it, and how do you train, and how do you actually make it like an engaging presentation? That's one there available online. But yeah, in general, I think it's a practice makes the difference, and we're all in the new ways of doing things. It was not that it's kind of expected in the past, so everyone is learning, and it's going to catch up and get better. In fact, most people actually picked up Zoom and a lot of other virtual conferencing solutions, but eventually people will realize that the classroom setup in a virtual environment require a much better interactivity, and how the engagement should happen between the faculty and student will mature as we progress on those. Dr. Dave, apologize if I'm skipping it, but any closing thoughts on this before I request Dr. Chowdhury to close this webinar?
Well, I completely agree what Mr. Sunil has said, that we definitely should have certain training program scheduling, which definitely would be very much helpful for the faculty members who are not very much versed with the technology and handling the online classroom options and all. But as we know that this is the best time, I can only say this is the best time for such training, because the teachers also will be willing to, even if not very much emotionally, but based on the need, they definitely will be willing to, because we know that necessity is the mother of all the invention. So now the necessity is prevailing. So now the faculty members who actually really want to know and want to upgrade themselves, they definitely should undergo such training. And there are couple of workshops which are going on, couple of webinars which are going on, which actually address the theme of virtual classroom, the unique technology and the technologies for virtual classroom. So these kind of topics they are covering, which are equally beneficial for the faculty members who are newer to this. But what I'm a little skeptical is only training will not do, because a faculty member may effectively can draw the attention within a four wall, as you have mentioned, 4-wall classroom. It's not he is habituated to. But when the same thing, if he want to draw through online classroom, then it would be very difficult, hell of a task for him, if he is not well versed with the techniques, that what are the means and ways he should approach through his class, and what are the features available for the media what he has chosen for his online class to conduct. So this is something over and above the training, the teachers should also involve quality-wise into it so that he can deliver better. So that is what I just wanted to say. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Day. So with that, I think we almost, we are actually way past our 4 o'clock time. Dr. Chaudhary, any closing comment before we say thank you for everyone?
Well, in these extraordinary times, the entire nation is trying to come to grips with the situation. And so it is in that spirit, AWS and Assam Downtown University joined today to find ways for a better teaching learning system, better future for better teaching learning system, and also for research and also for outreach. These are the total different areas of the university. So for finding better solutions to these, we have worked together, we have thought together, and we are sure that in future we will work together to find better solutions.
Thank you, Dr. Chaudhary. And with that, I would like to thank our guests today, Dr. Amarjyoti Chaudhary, Dr. Mala Datta, and Professor Day, and Mr. Sunil joining this and providing your viewpoint in general and as well as about the ADTU and AWS collaboration. I also would like to thank all the audience joining and listening to us patiently. There are several questions there. We apologize for not addressing each one of them because of the time limitations. But having said that, I'm going to be sending these questions to the respective folks, and then we'll get back to you based on the relevance of the questions to you. And thank you once again for really joining this call, and have a great weekend and stay safe.
Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Closing the webinar now.